Hello, Jay Fiset here with Joy, and you're watching Jennifer Beale's Business Unleashed TV.
I want you to meet Jay Fiset from the Creators Code, which is a program for people who want to create the life they were meant to live. Jay, welcome. So good to see you here, meet you, and talk to you about getting our needs met, creating what we want. We all have wants. We all have needs. So tell me, what's the best way to go about getting what you want to create?
Wow, we start with a big question. So thank you for having us. Well, I really believe that the foundational point is telling the truth. We want to believe that we're all good. It's all fine. After all, I've got a car, I've got a house, I've got a good job, I make a little bit of money, I go on a holiday, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. But the honest to God truth is that a more healthy or honest way to look at ourselves and, well, humanity is that we're like these great big barrels walking around with unmet needs trying to get ourselves filled up. And most of the time, how we have learned to get our needs met is in indirect and unhealthy ways. And those indirect and unhealthy ways wear us down. They're hard on relationships. They get us really close to what we want, but never quite exactly what it is that we're after. So I think the foundational piece is, number one, tell the truth. I have needs, you have needs. As humanity, we all have needs. And most of us go about it in inappropriate, wacky, crazy ways. So here would be another way of saying that, is that if you look at your own personal crazy behavior in a relationship, or perhaps you may have dated someone, or some of us, you know, like my wife married someone like that, is that if we look at any of the wacky behaviors that happen in relationships, this is business partnerships, this is family, this is spouses, this is partners, that wacky stuff, if we can look 1 or 2 or 3 layers beneath, is actually driven by often an unconscious and unmet need.
An unconscious, unmet need.
Yes.
Give me an example.
Well, here would be an interesting one. So I just finished a weekend in Halifax called the Financial Freedom Weekend. And there was a series of archetypes that we work around in terms of financial freedom. One of the archetypes is called the warrior. Now, the archetype of the warrior is that everything's a battle. If you've ever heard that old saying, it's like when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Well, when you're a warrior, everything's a fight. Doesn't matter what it is. If they look sideways at it, it's like, oh, they were looking at me very. There's always a battle. So we were talking to a gentleman who is brilliant, who has created some unbelievable shifts since he participated in our program, The Gift, a year ago. Literally edge of bankruptcy to doing strong 7 figures, probably do $500,000 this year. But what's interesting is that in his process, he's begun to notice that he always tries to be like one up. Always wants to have like the bigger office.
Like always needs to have something a little bit better than what he has, and that's one-upping on
actually,
himself or others?
What's interesting about it is that in his case, it's others. And what's really cool about him is that he's honest and forthright about his journey and about his process of evolution to say, you know what? The truth is, I could work out of a cardboard box and I'd still make $500,000. But not only is it important for me to have the biggest office, I find ways, subtly, not so subtly, to let everybody else know. And he said, I want to stop that. It's not appropriate. It's
and that's the honesty you're talking about,
Yes.
that people need to have. The honesty about, is this a game that we're playing?
Exactly. And in his words, he said, a year ago, I could never have told the truth about it. But as I begin to be more honest about my process, look at how my behaviors show up, see what's really driving and motivating me, I can call things out, I can make my life easier, and he said, I have better support, my teammates include me more, I enjoy myself more. He says, and shock of all shocks, he makes more money, because he's not, you know, I have to make the money so that I look great. It's like, I'm making the money because I'm doing the right thing for my clients, and I really care about what's going to happen for them. So that would be a very simple example.
So sometimes we have excuses like, I don't have enough time, or don't have enough money, right? I don't have enough energy. Like, how do we get over that?
Oh, goodness. At the risk of sounding repetitive, I think the first thing is to tell the truth that it's an excuse. So if we were to back up to
what would the truth be? If that's an excuse, what's the truth then?
I don't know in those circumstances, but if we could go contextually to it, is that here would be the truth, is that we as human beings find ourselves in a spot that isn't what we thought. Okay, so I was going to be at 30 a multimillionaire. I was going to be retired. I was going to be on the beach with, you know, pool girl. You know, that's how it was supposed to be. And at 30, that wasn't the case. Now, for me, for you, for all of humanity, when we have this vision of our life that doesn't match up with our reality, that gap has to be justified somehow. And because our belief is, it's cognitive dissonance, we can't add it up. So we have to make up a story about how and why this happened. Well, my dad didn't pay for my university, and then there was the problem with, somebody stole all my money, and then the economy went bad, and then I stubbed my toe, and then mercury was in Gatorade, and then there was some other thing that happened, and there's always this reason. There has to be a reason. Now, we can look harshly at excuses, but I think the most powerful way to look at it is it's just the story that my belief system had to make up to justify the difference. And then if we can just acknowledge that that's what our belief system does, then we can dive in and look at how did we manufacture the excuses that now keep us small. Because the truth is this, we as human beings aren't that creative about our excuses at all. It's like we find an excuse that works, and then it's just like copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Oh, I don't have enough money. Copy, paste, copy, paste. Oh, I don't have enough time. Copy, paste, copy, paste. And as soon as we train our belief system to accept that excuse, then what transpires is it lets us off the hook. We don't have to risk. We don't have to put our butt on the line. We don't have to risk disapproval. What if we fail? We don't have to do any of those sorts of things. We just get to insert excuse here, and our belief system goes, oh, yeah, it'd be far safer not to do that.
So how do we bust out of that?
Well, in my humble estimation, there's 3 parts to it. Number one, it goes back to your first question, is that the excuse is almost always protecting a need. So a need for safety, a need for protection, a need not to be wrong, a need not to be judged, a need not to have your brother-in-law over Thanksgiving dinner go, so how's that business going? You said you were starting. I thought you were supposed to be retired by now, but I noticed you're still driving your old piece of crap car. So it is a protection of some sort, and it is a need that is being fulfilled. So our strategy is always one fundamental truth, which is this, is that if we can get to the core needs, get them met in healthy and direct manners, things like what I'm going to call ridiculous excuses simply evaporate. So honesty about the needs, honesty about the excuse, get the needs met in terms of support, strength, capacity, courage, all of those pieces. Then suddenly it's like the old, what I'm going to call BS story of I don't have enough time or money evaporates. Now, one last part about that. For any of you who are listening or who happen to be business people, or perhaps you're in sales or marketing or engaging people, is that our society accepts those two considerations. They accept them because most people use them. It's like, oh yeah, I know what it's like to be really busy. Oh, I don't know how you fit that all in. It's like, yeah. And here's the thing. We buy other people's excuses exactly to the degree that we buy our own. So if you really want to be a better engager, a better converter, a better salesperson, stop buying your own excuses and tell yourself the truth about what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Now, if people go to your website,
yes,
they can get this and they can get more. So why don't you tell everybody where they can go to get more information about becoming a creator using the Creators Code?
Absolutely. And we have a multitude of sites if you do a little bit of homework online, but the simplest and easiest would be Creators Code. That is CreatorsCode.com. If you go there, it will give you access to a variety of complimentary online training, our YouTube channel, a bunch of other resources that will get you thinking a little bit more about what these ideas are and how you can consciously and clearly create the life you deserve.
Thank you, Jay.